She served him every Friday for months, enduring his condescending comments about people like her. But when food critics revealed the identity of the mysterious chef behind the city's hottest restaurant, his world turned upside down. Amara Johnson adjusted her server uniform and checked her reflection. At 28, she looked like any other employee at Le Bernardin, one of Manhattan's most prestigious restaurants. Her black uniform, pulled-back hair, and gentle smile made her invisible to the wealthy clientele, but they had no idea who she really was. For 3 months, Amara had been living a lie. The customers saw a simple server, but she was actually Isabella Martinez, the mysterious celebrity chef everyone was talking about. This was all part of an undercover experiment for Food Network, and tonight would change everything. Marcus Whitmore arrived at 7:30 p.m., as he did every Friday, a 45-year-old businessman with grey hair and expensive suits. He carried himself like he owned the world. His business partner Jonathan Myers followed behind. "Good evening, Mr. Whitmore," Amara said politely. "Your usual table is ready." Marcus barely glanced at her. "Yes, but this time bring the right things. Last week's recommendation was terrible." "Of course, sir. Tonight the chef has prepared." "No," Marcus cut her off sharply. "You just take orders. Don't pretend to understand food. That's not what people like you do." Jonathan laughed. Marcus is right. Servers just serve. They don't really understand cuisine. Amara's smile never wavered, though her hands clenched slightly. "What would you like to order, sir?" As Marcus studied the menu, he continued his commentary. "This bouillabaisse. What is it?" Amara's face brightened. She knew this dish intimately. "Excellent choice, sir. It's prepared Mediterranean style, with—" "Stop!" Marcus's voice was ice cold. "I didn't ask you to explain. You just write down orders. Kitchen matters are beyond your understanding." The words hit like a slap. Other diners glanced over, some looking uncomfortable, but none intervened. This was Marcus's world, and Amara was just the help. After taking their order, Amara retreated to the kitchen. Head chef Henry noticed her tension immediately. "You okay? You look upset." "Just difficult customers," she replied, forcing a smile. Henry shook his head knowingly. "Someday they'll learn who you really are. Hopefully that day comes soon." Meanwhile, Marcus continued his conversation with Jonathan, his voice carrying across the dining room. "It's impossible to find real quality in this city," he declared. "Most places are just for show. They don't understand true culinary artistry." "Speaking of which," Jonathan said, "have you heard of Chef Isabella Martinez? That mysterious chef everyone's talking about?" Amara's hands trembled slightly as she prepared their plates. Isabella Martinez was her secret identity. "Oh, that publicity stunt," Marcus scoffed. "If she were a real chef, she wouldn't hide. It's probably just marketing nonsense." "I don't know. The reviews are incredible. I'd love to meet her." "Real chefs don't hide behind mystery," Marcus declared confidently. When Amara returned with their food, Marcus immediately found fault. "This sauce is too salty. Who made this disaster?" "I'll inform the kitchen, sir." "Don't bother informing anyone. You wouldn't understand anyway. Just bring something edible." Each Friday that followed brought more of the same. Marcus would arrive, sit at his table, and systematically tear down Amara's dignity. His favorite phrases became a weekly ritual. "People like you need to know your place. This work is too complex for your background. Maybe you'd be happier at a simpler establishment." The worst part wasn't just the words, it was how comfortable he seemed saying them, as if crushing someone's spirit was as natural as ordering wine. 3 months of this treatment had worn Amara down. Walking home each Friday night, she questioned whether this experiment was worth the emotional toll. But she had a bigger purpose, to expose how service workers were really treated. That night, she called her Food Network producer, Lisa. "I want to end this," Amara said. "It's time for the reveal." "Are you sure? We could wait longer." "No. This man needs to learn a lesson, and I'm ready to teach it." The plan was simple but devastating. Next Friday, Food Network would bring cameras for a live special announcement. Marcus would get the shock of his life. Friday arrived. Marcus entered with his usual arrogance, unaware that cameras were being set up in the background. "Good evening," Amara said, her voice steadier than it had been in months. "Make it quick tonight," Marcus replied dismissively. "I have important calls to make." At exactly 9 p.m., The Food Network crew moved into position. Marcus looked confused as lights and cameras surrounded the dining area. "What's all this?" he demanded. Lisa stepped forward with a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're revealing someone who has been living among us in secret. For 3 months, a world-famous chef has been working as a server in this very restaurant." Marcus's interest peaked. "Who? Allow me to introduce Isabella Martinez." Amara stepped forward, untying her apron to reveal the chef's jacket underneath. The transformation was stunning, from invisible server to celebrated culinary artist in seconds. Marcus's face drained of all color. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Hello," Amara said to the camera. "I'm Isabella Martinez, and for 3 months I've worked here as your server." The restaurant fell silent. Every eye was on Marcus, who sat frozen in disbelief. "Mr. Whitmore," Amara continued, her voice calm but powerful, "you told me every week that I should know my place. You said people like me could never understand fine dining. What do you say now?" Marcus tried to speak but only stammered. I didn't, you're—" "Yes, I was just a server. But I'm also a 3-time James Beard Award winner with restaurants on 3 continents. The mysterious chef you've been trying to get a meeting with, that's me." The cameras captured every second of Marcus's humiliation. His face cycled through shock, embarrassment, and desperate attempts to find words. "Mr. Whitmore, the problem was never my qualifications. The problem was your assumptions. You judged me by my uniform, not my character." Marcus finally found his voice, though it cracked with emotion. I'm so sorry. If I had known who you were." "But that's exactly the point," Amara replied. "Respect shouldn't depend on knowing someone's resume. Every person deserves dignity, whether they're a server or a chef." The video went viral within hours. Millions watched Marcus's public humiliation, and the internet was not kind. His company faced massive backlash, business partners distanced themselves, and protesters gathered outside his offices. But something unexpected happened. Instead of hiding, Marcus faced the consequences head-on. He issued a public apology, not crafted by PR teams, but raw and genuine. He acknowledged his prejudice and committed to change. 1 month later, Marcus returned to Lebanado. When he saw Amara, now proudly wearing her chef's jacket, his eyes filled with remorse. "Chef Martinez," he said quietly, "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know. You changed my life." "How so?" "I've spent the last month examining every interaction I've ever had. The way I spoke to my housekeeper, my driver, every service worker I encountered. I was a monster, and I didn't even realize it." Amara studied his face, seeing genuine transformation. "What are you doing differently now?" "Everything. I started a scholarship fund for service industry workers' children. I'm requiring diversity and sensitivity training at my company. And I'm learning, really learning, to see people as human beings first." Their conversation was interrupted by a young woman approaching nervously. "Excuse me, Chef Martinez. I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "I'm a server at a restaurant downtown. After your video came out, customers started treating us so much better. You didn't just change him," she gestured toward Marcus. "You changed how people see all of us." This was Amara's real victory. Not humiliating one man, but shifting an entire culture's perspective on service work and human dignity. A year later, Amara opened her new restaurant, Dignity. It wasn't just about fine dining, it was a statement. Every wall featured portraits of service workers, with the caption, "Every human being has value." At the opening gala, Marcus was there, now one of her closest allies in promoting workplace respect. When asked to speak, he stepped to the microphone with humility. "A year ago, I was everything wrong with how people in power treat those who serve them. Isabella, Chef Martinez, could have destroyed me. Instead, she chose to educate me." He paused, emotion clear in his voice. "She taught me that true strength isn't in putting others down, it's in lifting them up. That's what we're doing here tonight." The audience applauded, but Amara was watching the servers moving through the crowd. They walked with dignity, no longer invisible. Some were students working their way through school, others were artists pursuing their dreams, and a few were experienced professionals who chose service as their career. All of them deserved respect, and finally, They were getting it. As the evening wound down, Amara found a quiet moment in her kitchen. Her sanctuary. She thought about the journey from that first humiliating Friday to this night of celebration. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Watched you on the news tonight. So proud of how you turned pain into purpose. You're changing the world, one heart at a time." Amara smiled, knowing this was just the beginning. The Hidden Lives program had expanded internationally, with celebrities in 20 countries experiencing life as service workers. Each episode sparked conversations about class, dignity, and the invisible people who keep society running. But the real measure of success wasn't in ratings or awards. It was in the countless messages she received daily. "I apologized to my housekeeper today. I started tipping better after watching your show. I see servers as people now, not just staff." Marcus had become a symbol of redemption, proving that even the most prejudiced people could change. His transformation inspired others to examine their own biases and treat service workers with newfound respect. Late that night, Amara wrote in her journal, "Change is possible, not through shame or force, but through truth and patience. When we show people who they really are, some will choose to become better." The next morning brought news that Hidden Lives had won the Emmy for Best Social Impact Program. But Amara's proudest moment came in a simple email from a server in Chicago. "Chef Martinez, because of your show, a customer asked my name today. It seems small, but it's the first time in 5 years someone saw me as a person, not just hands bringing food. Thank you for making me visible." This was her legacy, not just as a chef, but as someone who reminded the world that every person has dignity, dreams, and worth. One Friday night's courage had created a movement that would outlast any single restaurant or television show. The invisible had become seen, and the world was better for it. The end. This story teaches us, never judge anyone by the job they do. Every person has hidden talents, dreams, and stories. And most importantly, people can change when shown truth, with patience and dignity, rather than cruelty. If this story moved you, share it. Someone needs to hear that their worth isn't defined by their uniform. Remember, you are not invisible. Your story matters. Let's work with other celebrities. They can also work different jobs with secret identities. This is a great idea. Who can we work with? I've already started thinking. A famous doctor could be a hospital cleaner. A famous lawyer could be a courthouse janitor. This way people will really see how they treat the service sector. This would be a revolutionary program. Yes. And maybe we can make the world a slightly better place. The program came to life under the name Hidden Lives. In each episode, a different celebrity worked with a secret identity, seeing people's true faces. In the first episode, famous heart surgeon, Dr. Sarah Chen, worked as a hospital cleaner. Nurses and doctors treated her badly until she revealed her true identity in an emergency. In the second episode, Grammy-winning musician John Davis worked as a subway musician. Passers-by didn't give him money. Some even insulted him until he revealed his identity. Each episode created huge resonance in society. People began questioning their own behavior. Amara's story was no longer just a success story. It had become the beginning of a social movement. This movement, called the Respect Revolution, spread worldwide. People began treating service sector workers more respectfully. Restaurants provided better conditions for their employees. Hotels began valuing their staff more. Stores treated their cashiers more respectfully. Amara's courage, one evening, had changed the lives of millions of people. 5 years later, Amara was at the opening of her new restaurant. This restaurant, called Dignity, wasn't just serving food. It also worked as a social justice center. On the restaurant's walls were photos of people from various professions: servers, cleaners, security guards, drivers. Under all of them was the same writing: "Every human being is valuable." Marcus was also there. On opening night, he was now Amara's close friend and one of the biggest supporters of social justice projects. "Isabella," said Marcus, "this place is magnificent, but the most beautiful thing is the message here." "Thank you, Marcus. This isn't just a restaurant, this is a reminder. It reminds people every day that we're all members of the same human family." My life completely changed after that evening. Now my children are learning these values too. That's the most beautiful part, Marcus. The change didn't just stay with you, it passed on to future generations. That night, Amara gave a speech. In the hall were hundreds of people, chefs, restaurateurs, social activists, journalists, dear friends. She said, "Tonight we're not just opening a restaurant, we're growing a movement." Applause. 5 years ago, when I worked as a server, some people looked down on me, but I didn't get angry at them because I knew they were ignorant. Ignorance isn't a crime, but insisting on ignorance is a crime. This restaurant was founded to turn ignorance into knowledge, to turn prejudices into understanding. Every person who comes here will remember this. Whoever the person in front of you is, whatever job they do, whatever race they're from, they are human. And every human being deserves respect. Great applause. This isn't just my fight. This is all of our fight. Because if we want a fairer world, we must start with ourselves. Marcus Whitmore was the first person to join this fight. He treated me badly, but then he changed. And now he's one of the biggest supporters of this movement. Marcus stood up and applauded. Everyone looked at him, but this time with respect. If Marcus could change, anyone can change. Hope never dies. After the speech ended, Amara went to the kitchen. This was her real home. She felt most peaceful when cooking. One of her young cooks approached her. "Chef, tonight was very impressive. You're a real hero." Amara smiled. "No, dear, I just told the truth. The real heroes are people who chase their dreams despite difficulties every day. You're one of them too." "Really?" "Of course. You're working here, learning, developing. If this isn't heroism, what is?" The young cook smiled and continued working. Amara watched him leave. Maybe he would become a famous chef one day too. Maybe he would also be looked down upon by some people, but hopefully, by then, the world would be a better place. After the restaurant closed, Amara was left alone. She thought in the silence. What had started as an experiment 5 years ago had become the purpose of her life. She wasn't just cooking anymore, she was educating people. She took out her phone and called her mother. "Mum, how are you?" "I'm fine, dear. I watched you on television. I'm very proud." "Thank you, Mum." "Isabella, can I tell you something?" "Sure, Mum. When you were little, I always said this girl is special. But I didn't know how special you were." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "Mum, you're not just cooking, dear. You're changing people's hearts. This is much more valuable." "I learned it from you, Mum. You taught me that every person is valuable. And you're teaching it to the whole world. This is the most beautiful gift." After hanging up, Amara sat in the kitchen. Her mother's words made her think. She really was changing people's hearts. Marcus was the biggest example of this. But there were thousands of people like him, people who changed their racist behavior because of the program, people who began showing respect to service sector workers, people who questioned their prejudices. This wasn't just a television program. This was an education project. The next morning, Amara checked her emails. Hundreds of messages came every day. People were sharing their own stories. One message particularly caught her attention. "Dear Chef Martinez, my name is Jennifer. I'm a nurse. I was very affected after watching your program. Last month, a new cleaner came to our hospital, a young black man. At first I was very cold to him because I had prejudices. But after watching your program, I started talking to him. Turns out he's studying medicine. He works at night, takes classes during the day. Now I'm tutoring him. He's a very smart and talented kid. Maybe he'll become a doctor someday. If your program hadn't existed, I would never have given him a chance. So thank you. You're changing people. You changed me too." Jennifer Williams. Amara smiled. This is why she did this work. For people like Jennifer. She opened another message. "Chef Martinez, I work at the same company as Marcus. I see how much he's changed every day. He used to be very harsh with his employees, but now he's completely different. He shows respect to each of us. He even gave bonuses to our cleaning staff last week. He said, they're part of our family too. You didn't just change Marcus, you changed our company. Thank you." David Chen. These messages gave Amara strength. Her one night of courage was changing thousands of people's lives. The phone rang. It was Lisa from Food Network. Amara, I have great news. What is it? The program has been nominated for an Emmy in the Best Social Impact Program category. This is incredible. Yes. And this is just the beginning. They want to shoot an international version. England, France, Germany, in every country with local celebrities. This would be wonderful, Lisa. The message will spread worldwide. Yes. You started a revolution, Amara. After the phone call ended, Amara looked out the window at the street. People were walking, living their own lives. How many were like Marcus? How many were prejudiced? But at the same time, how many were open to change? Amara's experience had shown that people can change. They just need the right approach. Not brute force, but patience. Not anger, but understanding. Not revenge, but education. That evening Marcus came to her restaurant. He now came several times a week, but this time as a friend. Isabella, congratulations on the Emmy news. Thank you, Marcus. But this isn't just my success, it's yours too. Mine. Of course, if you hadn't changed, the program wouldn't have had this much impact. You're a symbol of hope. You prove that people can change. Marcus smiled. I just learned the truth. You're the teacher. No, Marcus. We taught together. I showed the truth. You showed how to change. That evening at the end of dinner, Marcus gave her an envelope. What's this? Open and see. Amara opened the envelope. Inside was a check, a very large amount. Marcus, what does this mean? For your new social justice projects, I'm establishing a scholarship fund called Dignity Scholarship. Education scholarships for children of people working in the service sector. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Marcus, this is incredible. But why? Because you taught me that change starts with ourselves. I've changed. Now it's time to help others. This is very generous. No, Isabella, this is a debt. My debt to you and all service sector workers. That night at home, Amara wrote in her diary. Today Marcus said he would establish a scholarship fund. This is incredible. The man who told me to stay at my own level 5 years ago is now providing educational opportunities for children of people like me. This is the real power of change. When one person changes, not only themselves change, everyone around them benefits from it. Marcus is now a positive force. His change is affecting other people too. This is my greatest success. Not just being a famous chef. Changing a person and making them an agent of change for others too. She put down her pen and thought about the future. What would she say at the Emmy ceremony? If she won the award, how would she use this opportunity? The message was clear. Respect is everyone's right. Change is possible for everyone. But how could she explain this better? That night in her dream, she was talking to her mother. Mum, am I on the right path? Of course, dear. You're giving people hope. But sometimes it gets very difficult. Sometimes there are people who don't change. Then don't work for them. Work for those who change. For people like Marcus. You're right, Mom. You're a special girl, Isabella. But don't forget, you're human too. Think about your own well-being too. When she woke up in the morning, Amara thought about her mother's words. She really was getting very tired. Constant speeches, interviews, projects. Maybe it was time for a little rest. But first she had to finish the Emmy ceremony and implement new projects. Because her work wasn't finished yet. There were still many Marcuses in the world, and they needed to change. Amara looked in the mirror. Keep going, she murmured. You were born for this work. And she really was. Amara Johnson wasn't just a chef, she was a change maker. And her story was just beginning. This story teaches us, never judge anyone by the job they do. Every person has hidden talents, dreams, and stories. And most importantly, people can change. Give them a chance. If this story moved you, share it. Because maybe someone needs to hear this message. And remember, you are also a story. Your value isn't determined by the titles others give you.